DMs. So, this is going to be of Nevermore Academy. Specifically, Basting has asked me to give him some tips. Since it's not a first-person VOD review, I'm gonna have to go over like macro play and whenever I see him, what he's doing, kind of deal. I can't really just, individually coach without an individual VOD. So, whenever I see him, I'll try to give some specific tips about him. But it seems that Power Maps, which is the blue team, is running a weird variant of Snoats with Moira Zen. There's no Brig in there. There's no Lucio to rotate. It's a Hanzo spam. So they're running dive. Nevermore's running dive. Alright, once they see this and realize that it's like a Mei comp, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to have to split them in the tunnels. So half of their team has to go on this side, half of the team has to go on the other side. It's going to be difficult having Ana Zen though. If they had Ana Lucio, it would be better for the rotate. But regardless, either split your tanks, like Winston on the backside, Diva in the front, and then put Ana Zen on the same side as Diva so that they can spam in. You won't have heals on the other side, but you can't have Zen or Ana on the other side because they'll just get pushed out. Yeah, they're going to play Mei contest at the door. And then Genji would have to take a back angle, and either Widow takes the front angle here or a back angle on the roof to make it so that their only space they can work with is in this tunnel. And then once the Mei wall is used, that's when both the teams have to either make a split push or heavy pressure and try and get a pick in it. You can't really just push into here with walls up, because if walls are up, you guys are going to get instant killed. And it's hard to push one side while the wall is already used on one of them, because then it's going to be this entire comp spamming into your 3 split and pushing out into it, which they'll be really good at. But other than that, it's got to just be careful play. It's got to be bait out their resources, spam them down, don't go for anything crazy until wall's used, and then collapse onto them together from split angles.
Yeah. May work first time.
Bastion taking high ground, Widow taking high ground.
Push this one a little bit.
Genji spots it.
You know it's coming, but
And now they're all on one side. They're grouping up. I think they're scared that it's goats. Unfortunate pick there on Genji. Kind of big.
It's gonna be hard for Nevermore to really get anything going here. They don't have a great comp to kind of dislodge this defense whatsoever. The dive is gonna have a hard time really.
Yeah, dive is going to have a hard time, especially pushing into that. But you guys are probably just waiting for Genji to get back. But you guys are not going to be able to play the frontline war against a Rein Zarya Mei. There's just no way that you can just hold a front line with dive tanks and contest them, really. If you want to push it in one side, it has to be your own Rein Zarya comp or like your own Goats comp. With the comp that you guys are running, you have to do what I said before, where you split, so someone has to make that call to split your team and who goes where, and then play that poke war and then get a hard engage once they use wall. Let's see this. You can't frontline war with Zarya. Will bubble Reinhardt. Reinhardt will get swings in.
It might be over.
Mei will wall off and they'll be fine. I like how your DPS are rotating, but I don't like how there's no tank at all with them. Having no tank with both those DPS can let them get just destroyed and run over by the enemy's composition if they decide to push out onto them. Either put a tank with them or put one of your healers with them so that they have some sort of sustain.
Side wall there, they're just trying to peek in there, find anyone sticking there, their head out in the
Yeah,
wrong
Genji's
spot.
going in alone, and he got his dash out, and luckily Widow got a pick. But if your DPS are engaging on like that, you guys should be engaging with them, because if they don't get a pick, they're in that 6-man cluster of a Mei, Rein, Zarya, and Moira that will just put orbs down and spam them out. If you guys went in with your tanks, because they did just use wall, there's no reason to get scared of being stuck in there, especially when you have mobility on Diva. Is it okay if it's a Twitch VOD? Absolutely. if you're Diva in there and you save your boosters and just start walking in the other side when your Genji goes in, you can put in extra damage and be the focus of the enemy over your very squishy Genji who doesn't have armor and 600 health like you do. Plus you have Matrix to get rid of like Mei right clicks, Hanzo Storm Arrow, orbs, and you know, Moira balls and things like that. Plus like Zarya right clicks. You can block most of the things in there. It's just when you start getting frozen or when you start getting heavily pressured, then you can use your boosters to get out. But I don't like how it's the DPS engaging without the tanks also engaging from the other side when there's no wall up. Because even if it's a 1-for-1 trade, that's, you know, not the best. You could have made it a lot better where your entire team engages and gets multiple picks and a stronger advantageous position in the fight. See, now your Widow's dead and your Genji got an unfortunate kill onto him. And because that you guys didn't engage, you weren't there to block the damage with it, and you weren't there to distract the enemy team from your DPS. Your DPS were able to full on get engaged onto by the enemy team, which was what I was scared of happening. And that is because 1, you didn't engage at the same time as them, and 2, quit your job to watch Overwatch coaching full time. And 2, you guys didn't do a split angle where either a healer or a tank went over with your DPS to alleviate that pressure. A lot of your job as a tank and as support is to alleviate pressure and make space for your DPS. So your DPS was in the opponent's space trying to gain their own space, and then that's a contest. It's just whoever wins the shots at that point. But if a tank's over there and they could bubble or matrix or just be the one to be focused on, you're taking away the enemy's space and their threat level to your DPS while applying your pressure with your DPS's pressure onto them. So it's much more dangerous for them, and your DPS have a much lower chance of dying.
Down.
So now you're down 2, but they did lose their Ryan, which is huge to their close range. Big problem here. Your Winston has been engaged for a couple seconds now. Like, your Winston jumped in then, and he's alone. He's alone with no DPS on the side. So if Sheik, if you're going to jump this with no DPS, you're going to need follow-up on a specific target to get any sort of value. It's going to be very difficult to just solo in dive as Winston against 2 or more people without having a DPS on your side that has long range like Widow or short range like Genji who's on with you to put in that extra damage. So you're going to need Diva to be with you in sync. So I'm assuming this was a little bit of comms flooding, or, you know, you went for a play and didn't like feel like you wanted to call that resource being put with you. But if you're going to make a jump like this, you have to call Diva come with me and like make a countdown when you're going to it, so that Basting can follow up quickly. And if you did call that, Basting needs to follow up when you're jumping in. It can't be this late. Or the decision needs to be made because your entire team's shooting the Moira, right? If your entire team's shooting the Moira because she's coalescing and discorded, you guys can just call Moira, and Sheik, you can, you know, not need to take that super aggressive positioning and just help with killing Moira first, so you guys can burst her down mid-ult. Because she got, if you see up there, she has 1 bar left. Any sort of couple ticks from Winston would have been a confirmed kill onto that. And then you guys can engage onto him, because they're down their Reinhardt. Once their Moira is gone, they're basically free food for a dive. Like, Hanzo will die instantly from a dive. There's nothing that he can do about it. Zen will too. Mei and Zarya have a bit more sustain, but then, you know, if you kill off their Hanzo and their Zen, especially with your DPS coming back and your healer supporting you, there's no way that they live through the prolonged fight. At most, they might get 1 trade on your tanks, which is completely fine, and you'll take the point cleanly.
For both teams, and the fight has gotten a little bit scattered.
I'm glad that you
That's
jumped
exactly
out, though,
what
and
Nevermore
recognized
won.
it.
They have finally dislodged their opponents from that tunnel, so now things get a little bit easier for them.
So there was a little bit of downtime there where both Winston and Diva could have gone onto the gas station high ground and pushed further up like towards where that green panel is, and that way you can start spamming down onto the Reinhardt or any sort of DPS that's over there. Maybe even commit a bubble so you can just stay there and keep the spam going, and you won't get heavily pressured by these two people. And as an overall for the team, if there's downtime like that where you guys aren't currently fighting multiple people and it isn't like a one fight, there should be an ult check and an ult track, because your team needs to know what ultimates are online that your enemy can use against you. Winston and D.Va can still help push the payload from on top. Yeah, that's another good tip. Like, if you guys both want to hold higher ground, you can hold this little blue area and it'll push the payload at this point. When it gets around the corner, you can stand over there. And when it gets to the final end, if you are on this high ground, we've learned this in my team, it counts as a contest and it will push it forward. So use some downtime between fights to get advantageous positioning to start punishing the opponent, gain some more ult charge, or just whittle down their resources. I'm just gonna stop that Spotify.
They're just backed up here. They're letting them push the payload a good bit here. Not really contesting, but they're gonna try to contest it over that. There's gonna be a good bit of ults coming here. They do have Hanzo's ult.
Alright, so a little bit of a problem there is that I see Primal and Bomb being used, but they're being used as both the zoning ults right there.
Contest it over that.
So that bomb right there, with the amount of hard cover and geometry on this point, that bomb will land probably around here or fall straight down to the ground over here. That is a very, very difficult angle to kill multiple people and will require a Winston, if he is primaling, to boop them out last second into the location. There's just too much hard cover. So a bomb on this point, if they're not on high ground, is a zoning bomb. And Winston is using its primal to zone them back off of the cart, which is also being pushed away from the bomb. So you're using two ults to zone at the same time when you could have saved one of the ults. And I'm guessing the plan was to primal push them into bomb, but that is a very, very difficult combo to work out, especially when they have Rein, Zarya, and Mei. Mei walls a bomb, Zarya bubbles two people in bomb, Rein shields for bomb if he's not like knocked across the stratosphere perfectly away from his team and the rest of his team's in it. And Moira has fade. Really the only two people that can be caught are Hanzo and Zen, and that's if all the other abilities don't cover them. So I wouldn't say use bomb aggressively here. I would say to keep it. You can use it as a mid-fight bomb, like to remech, and you play more aggressively because you have that remech. Or, you know, save primal for a little bit later in the fight where there's a real condition to use it, like you were getting aggressive and you're getting lit, and then you could primal and force out like trans, or put heavy pressure onto their Hanzo so he doesn't get any space, or displace the Reinhardt, something like that. But this double ult stack to zone is a bit too much of an overcommitment, especially when they haven't invested any ultimates from the other side.
There's going to be a good bit of ults coming here. They do have Hanzo's ult.
As you see, both of them basically do the same thing. Push them into that corner, which is a fine play to make with one, but not both.
Chicken, or however you say that.
Yeah, but he's not even gonna need it.
Winston and Widow down. It's a full disengage. That's a lost fight. You really can't win without that, especially when they have 6 and a very hard comp to push into.
They get a late stagger there onto the Moon Man as well.
Now you see, you guys used 2 ults in that fight, and the enemy team used 0 and won it cleanly. Your Winston was one of the people who died, so that they could have saved that primal to stay alive in the fight and make more displacement throughout it, which would have also put the pressure off of Widow, and maybe those fights could have been winnable, or would have at least required an ultimate investment from the enemy team. So it's a very unfortunate fight that both ults were in essence kind of wasted because they were used together without any general combo purpose, and they didn't have to invest anything. So this next fight is going to be very difficult to win,
a little bit dicey for Nevermore.
especially when they have Transcendence, and your main win condition would probably be a Nano Blade.
Yeah, they need to find some.
So
of
right
them
now you guys
now.
have to
Stevens
force
just
trans,
holding
and if you
back is really nice.
saved
They
Primal, that's another way that it could have been used to gain an advantage in the next fight.
The Nano Blade now going to be available. The Moonman and Dorkin can combo on that one if they want, but they're not going to have those tank ultimates for a while.
That's highest
thanks to
quality.
The
Little
late
blur.
swaps.
Ooh, your Ana's killed. Nano Blade.
It's gonna be good.
So a little tip for the Genji is if you Nano Blade and the enemy transes, like if you know they have trans, don't use your dash in the beginning of Nano Blade. There is a way to kill through Transcendence with Nano Blade. It is difficult, but it is worth going for because you already used a giant combo and you're gonna get 0 kills if you don't go for it. Hanzo would be the only real vulnerable one here because Moore has Fade, the other two are tanks. This one has 250 HP and an Ice Block, but for 200 HP targets, without like a crazy invulnerability ability, you can slash dash slash very quickly in Transcendence and instant kill them. So Hanzo here could have died if once Nano Blade was had, you didn't dash in, position yourself around the Hanzo and slash dash slash into him.
Interesting.
It's difficult, but worth going for.
Grab's also coming
Now they
out.
grab Blizzard because you guys used Nano Blade
Damage.
and they countered it with Trans, so they got a very
Missiles
clean
also
fight
come
win.
out. Don't know why they put both at the same time, but
They're having trouble killing
Worked.
Genji, but you know, it
Waller
happens.
having his walls on, but not really able to do much with it. Not just.
Yeah, don't know why walls were used here. It was definitely a
And,
lost
I mean,
engagement. Alright,
It's
he's
a
switching.
lot
That's
of
good.
ultimates coming out from both sides. They pretty much used everything they had.
It's an Ash Pharah.
But
It is weird how you guys kind of switched that with the
you know,
players,
now with
but
some
I'm guessing
very
it's not a
late swaps
pre-made
for
comp.
Nevermore, it's going to be hard for them to build up to more ults before, this.
Alright, so this comp now, it's got to be heavy spam into Mei and into Zen to try and get a pick with Pharah. Ash is going to be spamming Dynamite to try and hit their tanks or their backline to help with the Pharah spam. Ash has got to get high ground. They don't really have high ground contests on the enemy team. Like the only one who could do it is Hanzo. And if Pharmacy and Ash are working together to kill the Hanzo, he should be too pressured to get like easy shots in, and it should be a nice win. So the comp change is nice. One thing you have to be careful about though is that Mercy Ana means that you have no defensive ults. So if the enemy has team wipe ults, you can't do much. Like Transcendence helps against grabs, Transcendence helps against blizzards. So I think a Zen would have been more optimal. Plus you can discord a target for your Pharmacy and Ash to poke down. Because Pharmacy Ash, the reason that they would be good together is because they have a fuck ton of damage from multiple angles, and they can't get threatened that much by non-dive oriented comps. So a Zen would be perfectly fine, especially if you discord a tank and like the Pharah boofs and starts spamming into him, the Ash gets a side angle and starts spamming into him. Or if you can get a discord on one of their backline and the spam works together to kill them. I don't think that Ana has any necessary use in here other than keeping your tanks up if they're in a frontline war. But right now your tanks don't want a frontline war. Like no matter what, they want to avoid that at all costs because they're facing a Reinzar with Moira Zen. There's no way to really out heal that as just Ana except for using your nade. But there's also a lot of utility with having Reinzar Mei, where they can full CC your tanks and hard pressure them and split them from your Ana sightlines with walls. And they'll last longer in a frontline war without a doubt over this comp. So I would say that Zen is definitely a better improvement to have against it, or have with it against this comp.
Their 45 seconds is gone. They're in a tough spot right now. This defense looking very stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a defensive ult,
30
you're very
30 seconds left to go. They
vulnerable
need
to
get something
Blizzard
going.
or Grav or
Nobody else
Shatter.
also still does have his ult, but it looks
Good
like
spams,
it's very
playing
close
the
going down
comp
his lane.
right,
They would-
spamming out the back
They're
line
just gonna-
together from split
Waller gonna
angles.
get a kill on the Hanzo, and
And
this
those
is a
two
great
kills
opening
open up the
picks
whole
made.
fight. That Shatter there, Sheik. You've already killed both Mei and Hanzo, so you've killed the 2 spam characters that could zone out Ashe or maybe kill Pharah or Mercy. That's their only threat, because Zarya can't reach him, Ryan can't reach him, Zen can reach him, so he's like the other one, and Moira is going to have a hard time positioning from there. Plus, you're up 2, you've lost 0 with high health pools. This is a very hard to lose fight. So investing in ultimate, especially one that's so important to have to threaten the other Reinhardt as Shatter is a bit too trigger happy, as I would say. Hanzo holding ult till next game. Yeah, he's trying to find an opportunity. But you definitely don't need to invest the Shatter, especially with a 2-man advantage in a close range angle where you got rid of Mei, which wins the frontline war for them, and Hanzo, which wins, or not wins, but pressures your DPS. You can just roll through this and clean it up without any ultimate usage and just build up.
For them, Wall able to get a kill on the Hanzo, and this is some great opening picks.
Especially when it's on a Zarya who
Ryan,
has
Hanzo
bubble.
going down.
They
Moira's
can
also
block
down.
that,
This is
you know.
not looking good.
Just be careful with that.
Yeah, this is going to be Nevermore taking the first point here. They finally break through. Their DPS start to pop off as
You'll
Waller
see
and
good
make
Zaryas
right
do that
swaps
a
there,
lot.
get over to the
Good
far,
Zarya's having the
they get
reaction time to
Ashe.
play like a
Nice
Reinhardt and
Shot
bubble up.
from dodge.
Yeah.
Pharah is playing
Well played.
very,
They
very
had the
push.
Ashe into movement, make
If you see,
the right-
your Ana is cart, your Ryan is cart, your Mercy is up there, and I think your
swaps
Ashe
there,
is
get
too,
over to
right?
the far,
Yeah.
and the
But
Ashe
he is in a
respect,
position
nice
where
shot.
all enemies can see him. Only 2 of your teammates can see him, and none of the teammates can see the enemy. So that's way too aggressive.
Dodge.
Yeah, very well
Yeah,
played there.
you
Takes
can
the
scout
far
as
right
far
out of
out, but
the
you
scout
shouldn't be
with that
taking
shot.
duels. It's very
Doge actually could have
risky.
stopped that and maybe got them to stop at that first
And
point.
now, because of your Pharah playing very aggressive, your Mercy had to play very aggressive as well and be up there. Both of them got picked, and now this is a fight where you have to just give a point if they push you. If they push you, there's nothing you can do. You can't win this fight without your Mercy or your Pharah. Pharah's already back,
Yeah,
so
but
that's
now,
good.
you
They
know,
didn't
they
push
are
you
starting
off,
to-
which is
to
nice.
retake position on the point. They've got the first 2 opening picks, and
But
are
they
looking
also
for
did
more
get a kill on
at this
Ashe,
point.
so yeah, they got a kill on Ashe. They split they split Sheik off. There's nothing that can be done here.
So, I mean, and this is the ideal place for the defense to hold. Power Naps is right where they want to be. They've got the cart stop. They've got good positioning around it.
Nice
right now,
opening
but they
pick.
Do lose Doge first thing in this fight. That was a great pick off by Waller.
Waller's
Your Ryan's up
great
there. It looks like split, but not fully split. I think your team was able to follow up on there.
far in this game, but the
Knockdown. So you guys
First,
grab
you're gonna
Nano
come
Ryan
down,
and
that grab is gonna be-
okay. That's a very over-ulted fight there. If the plan is grab Nano Ryan, you just grab Nano Ryan. If the plan is grab Barrage, you just grab Barrage.
be great and fair.
They have Transcendence, they use it. You guys got the kills beforehand. If you guys wanted to grab Barrage there, it would have been a clean wipe either way. If you guys wanted to grab Nano Ryan, you guys would have at least had 2 picks and been able to follow throughout. Ryan could have even charged the Transcendence out or charge another person out and get another kill. It's just heavy overcommitment, especially if you know that they have Trans. You don't want to just immediately pour all the ults in, because if they do somehow stabilize and they do have enough shield resources and bubbles to get through that initial burst for Trans to heal up, then you guys have wasted Grav, Shatter, Barrage, and Nano getting no or 1 kill. So stick to the plan of small 2 ult combos. Do not just throw everything you can into it just because you want to get as many kill confirms as possible. That'll put the ult economy heavily into the opponent's favor because you use 4 ults for 1, or in this case 4 ults for 2. They committed Shatter, which they shouldn't have. But you know, that's just up to them. But what you guys can do for against harder opponents is that they'll be smart enough to just use Trans and nothing else when they get grabbed or into that situation. And then you used 4 ults for 1, and then the next fight is almost guaranteed to be in the enemy team's favor because of their ulti economy.
Just
So,
beautiful.
while it is nice to blow everything up in a grav, it is
That's gonna
not
be
an
a lot
optimal
of
play
movement
and
on
could
the card
lead
for
you to
Nevermore
losing
here,
the
which
next
is exactly
couple
what they needed. They've got a minute.
fights. Wait, let me just like lower this since it's just commentators. There was a shatter, yeah. So far spamming in. He's got a mercy pocket. Falls onto the roof. Is that your Ashe to the side? I think so. So now they grab Dragon. Don't get anyone in it. Which is surprising. That's a huge win condition for them to mess up. Because you guys don't have a defensive ult. So they need that grab Dragon to be big and they need it to kill people. They should have... They don't have like a diva to play around. That's just a misplay on their Zarya. Yeah, this is just having an advantageous position, then messing up their combo, and then cleaning it up. See that Bob? Did he Bob? I didn't see Bob. Hold on. Let me go back to Bob. Wait, what? Okay, Waller has ult. He bobbed. Oh, he bobbed up there. Is that where his bob is? Oh, that's huge for zoning. Yeah, that's not bad. It's used in an advantageous position. Made it more advantageous with Bob. Bob isn't a necessary fight-winning ult. It's more of an at-will ult. So he zoned their whole back to have to push forward into them to make it an easier cleanup. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, this is just a cleanup fight. There's nothing really to comment about this. The enemy team didn't land a big grab, which is a bit of a compliment to your team for not just grouping together to make it very easy for her. Your fair pushing up very aggressively without mercy yet again. Against double hit scan, it's even more risky. He can play it safely, but not just in the open. Like now he's playing it more safely, spamming in the back. What happened here? So, how did Ashe get picked? Where was Ashe? She just main? I guess he was just main alone. That's an example of the team and the tanks not being up where the DPS are. So either the DPS need to play farther back, or your tanks need to be playing farther forward, depending on what the team's deciding to do. The fact that they're split is allowing for these easy opportunities to pick or to open up, and they just collapse onto your Reinhardt. The spam in their back they don't care about. They're ignoring it, just pushing hardcore into your Reinhardt. If he was bubbled, it should be a retreat. Maybe even go for like a shatter opportunity if they're playing super aggro, but couldn't see the full thing, so I can't comment too much about it. Yeah, now this is just their cleanup. They put Coalescence into it, which I don't think was necessary at all with their 2 opening picks. Again, should be scouting once you see that. You guys can also hold tab between fights to see if you kill your opponents, to see if they switch their comp around. Because if I guarantee if it was double hit scan, your Pharah would have been playing in the open there, and your Ashe might have been playing farther back. The fact that they were in the open there in the beginning, especially without their tanks, put them in a very vulnerable position. So again, either tanks move up or DPS move back, and the team has to decide that together. Are you playing aggro together, or are you playing passive? So grab gets put in, barrage gets put in. There should be no more ultimates into that. It's a good double kill. Shatter was thrown onto one target there. Now I get that he's deadeyeing, but it takes a while for Deadeye to actually, you know, build up, especially if like it's just your tank in there, Sheik. You can start swinging at him and then hold shield, and he's like bound to press the trigger. He's the only one that could put your shield down. Like you're the only other thing that could happen to you to make your team die is getting booped, and that's if your team just like runs into it. If you hold shield onto McCree after like swinging at him, you're protecting your whole team. You tell them to shoot him, which obviously they will. It's a dead-eyeing McCree. Just stay where they are. Your team will spam them down. It's not worth investing a Shatter for a Deadeye. A Deadeye is, in most occasions, a very useless ability and very hard to pull off. And an Earth Shatter is a very big tool to have in a Ryan v Ryan engagement. Plus can lead to an entire team wipe if used correctly and used in a good baiting or aggressive manner.
Earth shattered while he was trying to use it there.
Yeah. You guys cleaned up. After that 2 ults, you should be focusing on keeping your ult economy strong and keeping your ults. I see Bob was used as well. That was definitely not necessary.
They've got some ultimates of their own.
Yeah. Thing is, PowerNaps is one shot at defending this.
Want me to check the res?
Most likely gonna be the
What res? Let me see what res. So they resed Ash. Oh, Ash died in spawn, so they resed her to get her back immediately so they can fight longer. That's not that bad, because they only have a minute left. They really don't want to spend another 20 seconds, or else it will be last fight territory. So where was Bob used? Bob was used as an engage? Interesting. So I guess they were going for a Bob Shatter, because it was used very early during the direction of it. If the Bob Shatter doesn't work, keep the Shatter. You can go for a Grab Barrage. It will be a heavy investment, but since it is last 2 fight territory, I think it is a good investment, especially since it worked out very well for you guys. Shatter 100% needs to be saved if you use 3 other ultimates in a fight, and especially in the manner that it was used. That was another trigger-happy Shatter. It was a counter pick. I thought very quick same was end of fight res. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is another example of you guys using 4 ults when 2 would have done the job. So that seems to be a common theme when you guys are trying to push in and take an objective. Be careful, because if you are able to win with 2 ults and save 2, you're basically putting yourself in another winnable fight the next time. But if you're using 4 ults, then you're putting yourself in a less winnable, not unwinnable of course, but a less winnable, more disadvantageous fight in the next couple fights that are coming up. So watch for those ult economy plays, because now they have 4 ults versus your 1. You guys use Valk too? Yeah, that was a 5 ult fight there. So now they have 4 ults versus 1, when it would have been 4 ults versus 3 or 4 ults versus 4.
This is most likely going to be the last. This is for either side.
And they're going all in to kill Iron Sheik, but they just aren't able to get it done. He gets the nano from 4.
Nano comes in. They pushed way too hard and just got punished by a nano. So unlucky from them. They should have played that a little bit safer, especially with their 4 ults. Like, you guys just kind of ult spam with Valka and Nano in the end there, and they kind of played into it. Against better teams, when they have that advantage, they're gonna play point into once they're 6, keep it slow. Then they're gonna grab and put everything into the grab that they can, or they're going to shatter and try and hope that outplays and then grab something like that. And you had nothing to deal with that because you have no defensive ults. So you guys just outplayed them there. They played that a little bit poorly. But yeah, be careful about ultimate economy, because that would definitely affect you're against better teams who are more coordinated, especially with ultimate combos. So that was the map that Basting wanted me to go over specifically. Sorry I wasn't as focused on you, Basting. Like, there wasn't many things that I saw that were very bad. We went over the zoning bomb. You guys were decently bubbling your Reinhardt and pushing in. The only thing that I would say is that if your tank is pushed in, you should be on them, or your tank should be. You should call for your tank to stay back for a bit, because you can't dash up or you aren't ready for it. So synchronize your tank play up again, especially with dive. I saw it was a bit desynced when it was dive. Then another improvement was ultimate economy plays, and then protecting your DPS when you're splitting, things like that. You should be up with your DPS if they're pushed up, or you should make the call for them to push back. and then, you know, be up there with them and push back with them, like pull back with them at the same time. They should never be up there alone. Alright, so I don't think it's over though, right? Yeah. So 3.4 seconds. Close, Victor.
Yeah, they have, and it's just been great.
This is great shit, man. No problem, Pickles.
He is.
That is a lob. Good job, Waller. Perfect.
Waller's gonna be sticking with the Ash right now. I really like this pick.
Okay. Waller, I get what you're going for, but you gotta be careful. They have a Hanzo, which he got spammed as a headshot. That's over. They do have a Lucio speed boost with Moira. They could heavily have just collapsed onto you. You should probably be playing up with your tanks for a different high ground angle. This one's a little bit better, yeah. But be careful with just standing on the ground straight forward and taking peeks against Hanzo. He is a dangerous character to take peeks from, especially from angles that you already peeked from. If he knows where you are immediately pressured by him. Hanzo does difficulty taking out DPS who go from different angles very quickly and spamming in damage, or holding behind shields. So you should be up with your tanks here for sure. These right clicks are aimed at really nobody right now. Maybe a DPS on the side. You can right click your way to the main group of the team, and even if it just hits shield, at least you're winning shield war by putting more damage in. And if it does hit them, you're getting 4 people hit by a Zarya grenade, which will charge a decent amount of grav and be more useful than, you know, Hail Mary right clicks to the side. So they're running Reaper, Hanzo, Lucio, Reinzar. Their plan is to speed on to Reinhardt and kill him, speed through your front line and kill him. The fact that your Reinhardt's down here alone means that he is going to die. Like, you guys should probably still be holding high ground and spamming down, but for Basting specifically, if your main tank drops, he needs you to be there, not only just for bubble. You might be thinking just put bubble on him and it's fine to stay on high ground. Yes, that might make you less vulnerable to Reaper, but there's going to be so much pressure on a Reinhardt being alone down here with no other tanking presence that they're just going to full engage onto him, and there's nothing that you could do to alleviate pressure. If you go down at the same time as your Reinhardt, you can use your personal bubble and right clicks to threaten them from pushing fully into them, and then they have 2 tanky bodies to deal with, and you can get more damage onto Reaper, you get more damage onto Reinhardt. Even if you lose it, you get a hell of a lot more charge onto your Graviton. But you should be playing with your Reinhardt wholesomely in this comp, because he will get rolled without you in there. So I see you're behind them on the cart. That's even more dangerous than holding high ground. If they decide at one moment that, you know, Zarya's behind us on cart, kill her, they turn around with Lucio speed, with their Reaper, with their Reinzar, and then they just collapse onto you, and you're even more vulnerable to a Reinhardt is to that comp, because if you bubble Reinhardt, he also gets a shield to play around himself for Reaper shots, and he also gets a charge to disengage. You have no mobility, and you have no shield other than your bubble. So once your bubble is gone, you're more vulnerable than Reinhardt, and you don't have armor and less health pool. So you need to be playing with your Reinhardt for your own safety and for his safety, because they could have instantly turned this around onto you and full engage on you with Reaper. And it seems like they do, but a bit too late, and weren't able to clutch it out. There they go. Now they finally get you. So yeah, the tanks playing split there, dropping at different times and at different locations, caused their comp, which is solely based around pushing one tank and all-inning them, thrive heavily. So play for more spam and play your tanks together to alleviate more pressure and be a bigger force together than apart. Thanks, Shape. And thanks, Pickles, for the support.
Yeah, we'll see if he can really get anything, but you know, he doesn't
Bob
have
came
a lot of
out.
teammates around.
So, when did Bob come out? Way late. So, Ryan and Zarya are dead. This is a full disengage where everyone should be full on retreating until all 6 of you are together again. There's no way you can push onto a comp. This is another one of those comps like it was in the first half, where the first half they ran Reinzar May Hanzo. This is Reinzar Reaper Hanzo with Lucio. So they have fast engages, good disengages, and they have brawl characters where once you're close to range, they have the advantage. So you can't push into them at all with without your Ryan Zarya, without cross angles, without getting good pressure into their back line and distracting their whole force. Pushing into them is going to be nearly impossible without actual tanking presence and a lot of support onto them. So this is a comp where you need to full disengage in full group, and Waller out here is just trying to fight, and then I think he uses Bob to try and contest point. This is a bad engage due to the fact that you have no tanks and you're down. This is basically, even though you got the Hanzo pick, before you got the Hanzo pick, this was already thought to be an engage on your GPS. That's why they're coming out, and that's why they're using Bob. It was a 2v6 situation without a healer or a tank involved. Ana seems to be there now, so it would have been a 3v6, but even then that is a big disadvantage. So committing that Bob there was trigger happy, and it was punished easily. This is another... Nevermore Academy seems to have a problem with over-ulting. You guys have used Bob in here ineffectively. And then now, since that's happening, you guys are in a disadvantageous fight. This is where ults are just being popped off. Like, Nano is used first before them using any ult and countering one of your ults. And you still being down a player. Then, they charge in, they start smacking, they start using Coalescence. So that's a 1-for-1 ult. Nano's a bit more useful than Coalescence though. Coalescence is just, you know, another way for Moira to put on pressure in a straight line. Then Dragon Blade comes out, which then forces Beat out. Luckily they shatter, so it's a bit of a closer ult investment. But you guys, again, ulted, used 3 ults in a fight where you were going to lose. Well, they used 2 ults to counter those ults. And then I think they just used another ult to secure it, or they saw an opportunity and cleaned it up. But now they have better ult economy because they have Hanzo and they have Grav. They're gonna have Blossom. If you guys kept Bob, you would have had a way to get a point contest. If you would have kept Nano, you would have had a way to keep your Rhine alive through pressure. Maybe another target through Grav, or build up Grav. And then you would have had Trans coming in this fight. You would have had Trans and some of those ults to maybe contest against this ult barrage that is probably going to come down onto you. So that's another ult economy focused play where you guys could have pushed that and forced out ults while keeping your own, or just not engaged until all 6 of you were there and made it a much closer fight. So now they just grab Dragon cleanly. You guys didn't get Trans in time. And there's just nothing you can do there. That has to be a disengage for the same reasons as first. So it seems like your team is disengaging. That's a good play. Ah, damn. Waller got caught.
Yeah, the healers and the FAR are still here for Nevermore, but that's
So
not gonna be really
you can spam, you can't engage. Like, Ana went down to engage and try and stall. If you're going to stall, make it the last second of the point. Like, make it when it's at like 3 meters or something. Because then there's a chance where your teammates do get in and you make it a 6v6 engage to where they feel like they need to invest ults. It's still not a hugely winnable fight in your favor unless you're coming back with ults, but it will make it a closer fight. And the rest of your team didn't engage with the Ana, so it would have been better for Ana just to stay up there, get a full regroup, give up the point, and get position on here.
But now, finally, Nevermore are starting
Yeah, now you guys got some ultimates. The caster said it right. Now you guys are finally coming online with ultimates. And the reason it took so long is because of heavy ultimate investments in disadvantageous fights where they countered it up but still had ultimate economy because of it.
Graviton Surge as well, so they've got tools to work with here.
It's gonna be interesting.
So, let's see how you guys take this fight. Nice opening pick by Waller. Your Rhine is down, which makes it a very easy fight for them to push into you guys with Rhine Zarya, so it should be repositioning and disengage, which you guys did, and then you invested a lot of ults again in a very unsafe fight. So, Grav needs follow-up, right? But it needs a good amount of follow-up to where the people following up also don't die. The fact that you lost your Rhine and everyone's on a disengage and your Zen is shattered means that the enemy has a heavy advantage and can roll onto it, and your team is in no position to fully follow up. Even if you have Grab Barrage, they use a bubble, they use shield, they shoot down Pharah, which they do. And that's it. That's how they countered it, just by shooting your Pharah. It's a very important ult combo to get down because it can lead to a clean fight engage. Your Rhine does need to be up to fully pressure and protect against the Grav. So either in that fight you should use it earlier when your Rhine is still alive. Like, I know you don't plan on your Rhine dying, but it should be done earlier to make it safer. Or like you did here, you waited for an ultimate investment, but that ultimate investment did make it so that you guys can't follow up on the Grav. So they traded a Shatter for a Grab Barrage, which could have cleanly won out a fight. Waller also used Deadeye there. And then you guys used Nano. So another 4 ult fight that you guys didn't win due to the occasions where you pop the ults and how you use them together. Huge Shatter, but again, no one's around to follow it up. And then that's another ultimate investment that got 0 kills and 0 ultimates thrown out from the enemy side. Like, they just used Coalescence, but I don't think they used that for the Grav. They aren't even healing for the Shatter, I mean. Now you guys are pushing in. You guys, aggressive trans. While it might save the fight, using trans there makes Grab Dragon an instant win condition for the enemy team. And I'm just going to assume that that's what happens. So ult economy of the team overall is very poor, and ult effectiveness and efficiency is very poor right now, which is a huge part of Overwatch. Like, that can't be ignored.
I don't know if Power Naps can just deal with that aggressiveness from Sheik. Doesn't look like they're ready for it. McCree is up on the top, see if we can get anything.
Hanzo spamming out the McCree. Then they grab Dragon. No trans to counter it. Wipes out the team. And it's going to be a clean push with about either 3 minutes or around 240 if there's a good stall. Yeah. Not able to stall, so 3 minutes left. And they still have 3 ultimates. So it seems that overcommitment of ultimates is a big deal with the team overall. And Basting, if you want specific advice, I went through the breakdown of each fight when the Grav was used and the follow-up to it not being there. That's not like specifically team fault. That could also be timing of the Grav itself with the situation. As I explained with Rhine shattering and getting one down and you guys not having a Rhine, it's very dangerous to go for that combo. A different way to hold through that is, I think you guys used one ult before then, or if not, you didn't use any ults, but you see that you're down to, and they haven't like invested many ults, like they just shattered. What could be good there is to fight point, all die point. You guys will have enough time to regroup and spawn and push out, and then you guys can do a clean grab barrage engage because they want to push cart to the end. They'll all be around it, and you'll have a full 6 members to both follow up and protect those following up and make it a clean engage. Then you guys will have the other 4 ults as well. Do not overcommit those ults, and then you guys can play around them, because then they would have used Shatter in that first fight. They might have invested a little bit into the second fight as well. Probably sound barrier because you guys are grab barraging. Probably would have been a 2-pick or a 1-pick engage on your grab barrage if your Pharah does get picked. If she doesn't, it's clean. And then you guys, trade it out and play together with target focus and you win that out. Then it would be like 3 ults to 4 or 4 ults to 4. And that would have been a much easier way to hold the defense and to get an advantage in easier fights throughout. So yeah, that was Route 66. That was Basting's VOD. That was a decent amount of time, but hope it was worth it. Don't know if he wants me to go over overtime. I don't know. Let's see if there's any more examples, if there's anything new that happened. They're running Hog with Mei now. Okay. Hog instead of Zarya means that Ryan is more vulnerable, but it's even harder to push into. That's got to be a heavy spam. Like where I said with a 3-3 split, that's got to be full spam. You can't go into Hog, Mei, Reinhardt without them using wall and hook. And it's also harder to punish Roadhog with his heal. So you guys do have to spam from both angles. A pharmacy would be good with that too. And you guys can't push into it. If they do use hook and wall, then you guys can call it and push into it because Roadhog, well, he will have good pressure on the Reinhardt. If you do bubble in and you guys do engage at the same time and make it hectic, it's going to be very hard for him to get value. Big purple, big spam. Nice ghost dash. See, the bubble came in, and this is another example of the team not engaging with the DPS. Like, yes, your Reinhardt is down, but if your Genji and Ashe are already fighting this close, Basting, you have to be in there. You have to be that other side pressure. And with your damage being put in, like fully with you being in there and taking pressure off of them, you guys could probably have gotten more picks off it, or one of you guys would have survived just due to the amount of hectic damage coming in from both ends. Yeah. Team gets picked off. You guys do get a nice pick and nice damage in, but there wasn't enough commitment to the engage with Zarya, Ana, and Lucio to work with your DPS to clean it up. Nice job getting Grav though. Nice job getting Grav Dragon Blade. It is very, very unfortunate that you guys did not win off of that. I wonder how that happened. So self bubble. Dragon Blade comes in. Genji does get picked. I'm hoping you used personal, or not personal, bubble onto Reinhardt on engage then, if you did not have bubble onto that, because if you did have friendly bubble, it should go onto Genji because he is the big follow up. Your grab's already out, and then you guys could have cleaned up the entire team from that. It didn't get purpled either, did it? Yeah, purple nade would have been big there too. You guys can push onto the Roadhog afterward. Yeah, that's unlucky. Very unfortunate that that combo did not cause as much casualties as it needed to. Only optimization is friendly bubble for Genji and saving it for that. Alright, they're still doing Goats, Hanzo, Reaper. And you guys are holding Moira Goats close. I actually like that. That's a good composition call, especially if they're running their Orion Hanzo, because they have a shit ton of damage to put into your tank, so Moira spam heals is good. And since you have to hold it this close, a Goats comp sprinting onto the cart and holding it is very hard to push into. Plus you can get a speed, like an amp engage into a target and wipe them out and then continue to run around, even with their spam and high damage, because Goats is very hard to kill. Now that should be where you guys just go in all together already. Like, look at this. Their Zarya turns around, they spot you guys, and then you lose the advantage of the surprise. Like, if any of them turn around, there goes that advantage. You guys should just push in. Ryan should go first, though. Zarya ran in and bubbled themselves. should be Ryan going first so that he can get swings in and get bubbled then. And he gets punished afterward because of that weird, awkward engage. Doesn't seem like there's a full target focus on a target. Let me see. Yeah, the team splits. So Ryan goes into their back line. The rest of you guys are hitting the people who didn't immediately retreat with him. Ghost does really well at attacking a front line and whoever is closest to them. So don't try and get too like risky with pushing back into them, especially with them having a Moira Lucio. They can disengage and use their auras and their massive heals with Moira Orb and left click to make it so that they sustain through a backline push, because your entire team won't be able to follow up at that range. Going after whoever was close, like their Zarya who just used bubble, would have been much safer. Their Lucio was also on cart there, which you could have smacked around. And then, you know, if they do survive, go after the Ryan, as all goats love to do. Now this is difficult because your team died, and it's such a close range. You guys can't really like full jump off the map, reset, and go for another. So you guys just kind of get rolled after that bad engage. But you know, there's nothing much you can do after the initial plays don't go well. I'm getting a lot of messages. Jesus. Okay. Yeah, again, nothing you can do here. But good shit overall. Hope that helped a little bit basting. And I hope Nevermore Academy also got something good out of that, because I went over overall ultimate investment in economy.